Hello folks, welcome to Rock Block Studios. This is your host Scott. I am here with the first video in my next build series. As you can see here is going to be a double neck Ibanez RG. Of course this is just a Photoshop conjoining of the two guitars just to kind of see how they would fit in a general overall look. They will not look like this when it's done. So it'll probably be refinished and all that happy stuff. I will probably do an inlay on the top deck to match the bottom one and make it all one color. Here on the bench today is my first victim. This is the GRG 121 neck. If you recall the Goldtop build, the GRG 121 is actually what I built the Goldtop out of, and I thought it was a pretty good success, so I've decided to buy another one to do this project with. I will be adding a row of holes along this edge for the second set of tuners. I've got some reverse head tuners that I will be putting on there. One thing I did notice though, let me put this in here. It's going to be a little tight up here on the top, because as you can see the way the offset is, the tuners on this side will have to go up above the tuners on the other side. Well, the way these things will fit, it's going to be really tight, so I will probably end up having to break the screw tab off of this one, but the rest of them I'll be able to put on like normal. So I'm going to be having have to do some measuring and all that to get the measurements from my holes and all that stuff. The fretboard, I will probably, most likely what I will do, if I can actually find inlay stickers to match that, sorta. I think you can get them from Creative Cuts, but they're the kind that are big enough to cover the dots. I'm going to drill these dots out like I did on the other and fill them in, and then I can actually either inlay, which will take a lot of work, or I could use the stickers and cut them down so they look normal and then clear coat over it. I've done that before as well with pretty good success. So over here I kind of have my pile of stuff. I apologize for not filming the cutting of the bodies. I took those to my dad's house on Father's Day, and we actually cut the bodies. Probably what I'll have to do once I get them joined is reshape the back of this so it's all flat, and then there's a slight bit of the arm contour right there that I'll have to fill. And basically what I'll do is I will probably keep this three-way switch and my volume, and I will probably extend the cavity down to put a toggle switch there to switch between the 12 string and 6 string. Go ahead and flip these over. I've not glued them together yet. Yeah, when those go together, I'll actually be able to, right there where the switch goes, I'll have to cut just a tiny bit out of this body down in there to get the screws and the body of the switch in. Then I'll probably just shave some of this off so I can get the toggle switch in there. I'm going to try to keep as much of the original control cavity as I can, so I don't have to make a new cover. I can just cut the one I have. I've been looking up some ideas about doing the actual bridge conversion. Well, of course this isn't going to go on the back, but I will be working on that as I go. I'm going to try to keep the original bridge. I don't know if I will be able to or not. But I've got all kinds of stuff here. I've got tuners and reverse head tuners for the other side of the neck. My box of sandpaper and all that good stuff. So I am going to go ahead and get my rulers out and start working on marking the neck. That's probably going to be the first thing I really work on, because that's going to actually take the most work as far as actually cutting and all that stuff. So I'll be back. Alright, welcome back to the workbench. I would normally put the camera on the other side so you can see up the headstock a little bit better, but I'm left-handed, so any marks that I make will be covering the camera. Actually, I'm going to make all my marks off camera. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my measurement from the edge of the headstock to the hole, and also the measurement between the holes, and then I will transfer those measurements to this side of the headstock, because that's where the other side of the tuners are going to go. So it's going to have to go pretty close to the top, but it'll be kind of tight, but like I said, it'll work. So I'm going to do that stuff off camera, so you're not sitting here watching me trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. And I'll be back once I've made the marks and show you what I did. Alright, I'm back. Well, that was fun. I did not videotape the whole measuring process and the drilling and all that, but I think it'll work. I might have a little bit of string overlap when it kind of gets up toward this, a little bit of a curve there, and my washers are going to be really close to the edge, but I think it'll work. I tell you, this maple is hard. I had a heck of a time getting that drill bit to go through, but basically what I've got here is my regular tuners, and then my reverse tuners. I'm going to have to break this tab off of the top tuner at least. Because it's going to hit that corner. Yeah, right up here, this little cluster right here is going to be tight, but it will work. Yeah, it's a fender tuner. I just bought a set. Bought 2 sets of tuners off a fella, and they both turned out to be for reverse head or left-handed guitars. So they've been sitting around for a year, and they finally came in handy. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these kind of put on just to see how it looks. Alright, I'm back. I have got my tuners on. As you can see, the bottom ones are so close to the edge they kind of stick out way further than the others, but it's not terrible. It's heavy. I've got one chrome, was it a bushing, whatever you call it, because one of the other ones I had was no good. I'll probably end up replacing this set of tuners with a better set at some point. But for right now, it fits. Okay, now that I've finished all I can do on the neck at the moment, I'm going to go ahead and join these bodies together. I hadn't really showed you these in any kind of depth yet. Basically what I did was I cut this one. I got the other piece over here somewhere. cut that one below the contour, so it would be flat here. Then the other one I cut just below the control cavity. So I still got the control for the three-way switch and the volume. And like I said earlier, I'm going to be chopping out some of this. Try to make room at least for a toggle switch. I'm not worried about putting a tone knob on the thing. That's just the old where they drilled for the output jack. Being a little quiet here, everybody's asleep. I'm going to go ahead and get these things glued up. I got me some clamps today. Hold on. Some of these here, handy dandy clamps I'm going to put across. Once they're glued, let them sit overnight. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that up, and then I'll show you what I did. Okay, I'm back. I had a heck of a time lining these things up. Basically what I did to get them level, I basically just kind of laid my ruler along the bottom of the pickup cavity. I basically just got those lined up, and these of course won't line up quite right, but looks like we've got a pretty good line on the neck pockets there. So that's pretty good. Let me flip these things over. And there's the back. There is a very slight bit of difference in the width of the RG5 versus the RG121, but it's very, very slight. I got the thing laying on its front and kind of beat it down so that the front would level up as good as I could possibly get it. So the back might have a little bit of a ridge on it unless I sand it down well enough. Once this thing's dry and solid, I'll be coming in with a sander or a bandsaw or something and just cut this little corner off and shape it so that it all flows one into the other. And I'll start working on modifying this. Really, it's going to be relatively small amount of actual body work comparatively, except for right here. That's going to be a bitch. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with that. But if I can get something to bridge that gap there, I can actually keep that. You can see right there the flat parts kind of, or yeah, they will come across. I might have to use Bondo or something in there to shore that up. Yeah, short of actually cutting this in as well and kind of making it look like a butt. I'm not going to do that. So stay tuned. All right, it is the next day. I went ahead and took the clamps off. This thing is nice and solid now. Here's what the back looks like. And I'm actually going to have to really do minimal woodwork to this one, which is nice. I was kind of looking around at what I've got going on as far as controls go and whatnot. Whoopsie. Go ahead and throw these necks on here just a second. Show you what I've got so far. Yeah, the most work is going to have to go into that top neck because I want to match the inlays, like I said. And I've got to get a black washer for that. Actually, probably what I'll do is I'll see if I can find 2 more sets of the powder Cosmo. See if I can find one for a right hand and one for a left hand. And then the bridge I'll have to paint to match the tremolo that goes in this. So basically what I've got figured out here is, I'm gonna take these off and put them back over yonder. What I've got here for the control cavity, I've actually got enough room in there I can probably stick a toggle switch in here. What I'm going to do is I am going to hold on a second, I'm going to get a marker. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I will probably take a chisel and cut this piece out. Cut all this out. I'm using a black Sharpie, it's kind of stupid. But that'll give me enough of a ridge here for the plate to screw onto. I'll just have to make another hole in it. And also, I've got almost enough room down here for my switch. So what I can do is, if you look at where my hole is, you can actually see the edge of the original screw hole. So basically I'll just have to drill down through right here, put a hole there, and then come through from the back and maybe just gouge out just enough of the wood in here. And just take out enough of that to have room for that switch to sit and screw in. I might not actually have to take out any of that like from the surface, which would be great. Also, my wiring, with the amount of room I still have, I'll probably still be able to put the toggle switch maybe right here to switch between the 6 and 12 string necks. And also, I can drill in right about here, come straight across into here to run my wires. And let's see. Yeah, my pickup cavity is going to be about right up in here. That'll put me a hole right about there for the wires to come through. And then it'll all run across the pickup cavity from here, across the pickup cavity, and then into here and into my output. I had questions about how you're going to do the output from the 12 string part. That's how I just drill a real short hole. I mean, I got like 3/4 of an inch to drill through, because this part right here is hollow and that's solid. So I just need a big enough hole to put wires through it, and then I'm good to go. Of course, this part right here, I'm gonna have to cut off this whole section. And also at the bottom, I think probably what I'll do, I saw another 12 string, 6 string combo somebody put together. I think they actually filled in this right here, but in order to do this contour part, they actually divoted both of them in. One thing I can do is just take a little corner off of this, myself a little bit of a butt shape. That might be kind of cool. Or I can use Bondo or something to fill that in. I will probably have to put the strap pin up here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure. I can't really put it right in the middle because of the way that contour is. And I could always use either one of the existing holes, but I haven't quite got that far yet. So that's basically all the actual woodwork I'll have to do on this thing, which is nice. Given everything that I had to do to that other GRG 121 to get my Goldtop Les Paul thing, I had to fill in the entire control cavity and make a brand new one and cut out a new one for the toggle switch and all that stuff. That was a lot of freaking work. So really, my body work on this one will be minimal. A lot of it's just going to be finishing. This is fairly flat. Turns out, I think the body of the GRG 21 is actually slightly wedge shaped going forward, because right here it's pretty much level, and then the further up you get, there's more of a difference in the height between the RG5 and the RG 121. It's the same on the back. I glued it so it was face down, so the face of it will be as level as possible. And then, but there's definitely, this body's definitely like slightly thicker than this one. But I'll be able to fix that with the sanding. So I'll probably video some of that work. This video is probably not going to be quite as extensive as the other one. Yeah, number one, because even though I'm building a double neck, it's actually probably going to be less work than the Goldtop, which is kind of funny. But I will talk to you later. Alright, I'm back. I've done a little more work. One of the things I did, I took my jigsaw and cut that piece right there. It tried to go straight on me, so when I'm gonna have to fill that part in. I tried sanding it all down so it would be kind of, try to get down to the level of the gouges, but they're a little too deep, so I'm just gonna fill that in with filler. I kind of went a little crazy with my drill and ended up drilling too big a hole through, so I had to fill it with a dowel, and I'm going to re-drill it. I just had a thought about the positioning of that toggle switch for the between the 6 and 12. What I might actually do is put it down here and kind of out of the way. So I'm just thinking, if I put it right here within where the control cavity is, it's going to be right there at the bridge, and when I reach down to do anything with the whammy bar, I got the wrist flipping that switch. So I might actually put it down here somewhere, kind of out of the way, which will require another hole, and I'll have to go through the back with my Forstner bit and make another cavity right here, which I can cover with just a regular round cavity cover. I did make my hole through, see if I can get to the focus. It's where my wiring is going to run from the 12 string to the 6 string. And did a little bit of carving. It's not pretty, but it's functional. I got my switch out, my 3-way switch. Put that thing in, and it's actually going to sit just a tiny bit under right there, but there's plenty of clearance, and nothing attaches to the last lug anyway. So that's that. Yeah, like I said, if I put that toggle switch here, then it's, or whatever, it's going to be really tight and it's going to be in the way. So I will probably make a separate cavity down here, which will really be no big deal. So that's what I've done so far. I did shape this contour a little bit to try to match. I'm probably making you seasick here. I'm doing a lot less actual bench work here, and I'm kind of sitting here watching videos while I'm actually doing my work. So, but it's coming along. One other thing I did do was jammed a couple of the big skewers down in there, tapped them in with a hammer so they go as far as they could go, and then chiseled them off. The finish on the RG5 is way thinner than the finish on the Gio. You can see. You can actually see that from the front. I mean, I used a hand sander for that, and that RG5 is like, that stuff came off right quick. And the Gio, the finish is a little tougher, probably because it's a gloss compared to a flat, so they probably didn't put nearly as much clear coat on that. So there we go. Alright, I've decided what I want to do is to go ahead and do a separate control cavity for the toggle switch between the 6 and 12. So I measured the size of the cover that's on the Goldtop to like 2 1/16 or 2 1/8. So I basically just measured straight down from this one and measured straight down, then kind of this is how big the cavity cover is going to be. Then I'm going to use my 1-inch Forstner bit. I'm going to drill a pallet hole first, of course. Then my 1-inch Forstner bit will go down right in the middle of all that. Then I'll chip away at the thing to recess it, like I did the other one. This will be a lot easier though because it's flat. I don't have to bend the cover, which would be nice. Alrighty, I'm going to do that and I'll be back. And there it is, the hole is drilled. My 1-inch Forstner bit and a 1/2 inch hole for the shaft of the switch. It's worked out pretty good. This is the switch, or the type of switch I'm going to put in there. Sucker in there. Hold on. Alright, it's in there now. Right there is where my switch is going to be. I haven't decided if I want to go forward and backward or up and down. Either way it'll work. So that is all of the drilling I should need to do, except for one hole to go from that cavity to from this one to this one, which won't be too bad. Alright, so I've just been doing a little bit of work on the body still right there, kind of filling in the where the seam is and getting that leveled out. That's pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to the neck. I've already drilled out the dots. I should have videoed that part. That was fun. What I'm going to do with this one, I'm not going to actually inlay anything. I have actually ordered a set of stickers, decals, that will match the shark tooth inlays on the RG5 neck. And what I've got here is a pile of rosewood shavings from another neck that I had laying around. I just took a drill to it and just kind of drilled a whole bunch of holes in it. Some of them went a little deep. I got a few little maple chunks in there. I'll try to avoid getting a hold of those. Basically what I want to do is pack the holes with the rosewood and then put some crazy glue in there. Excuse my feet. I should be doing this on the desk, but alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pack the first one and put the glue in there, and then I'm going to come back and show you. Alright, there's the first one done. It's pretty dark comparatively. The rosewood that I cut out was a good bit darker than the wood that I put it into. But what's going to happen is after I get all these done and it's dry, I'm actually going to sand down the fretboard a little bit just to kind of open up the surface, and I'm going to stain it with my Minwax Ebony stain pen. So it'll be fairly uniform, and also when I put the decals on there, it's going to cover up most of that, or at least half of it. So it will blend in eventually, but the super glue is only sitting just a tiny bit above the surface, so I won't have to do a whole lot of sanding to get that flat. If that sinks down some more into there, I'll just add another drop to make sure it's saturated. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them, and I'll be back. Alrighty, I've done a little bit more work on this neck. Basically what I did was I took a razor blade and I kind of scraped the surface of all of these. A lot of these I'm going to have to go back with some more glue and refill. This one right here soaked up pretty much all of the super glue that I put in there, and I ran out. So I'm going to have to put more in there. For this fret right here, this was like the one that was in the best shape, most complete. I basically took my Minwax Ebony. This is after 4 coats. Still not quite as dark as I'd like it. I'll probably give it a couple more, see if I can get it even darker to help blend that dot in. And what I did was I took my 750 over here and traced the 7th fret shark tooth with a piece of masking tape and cut it out and put it on here just to see, and it's not covering up much of it at all. In fact, it kind of points at it and says, hey, look, here it is. So I'm going to keep on working on darkening this. I got the inlay decals. I probably said this before. I haven't gone back and watched the previous video, but get the inlay decals to match the black pearl on the RG5 neck, and hopefully by the time I get those, this will be darkened enough. The reason this looks so light, of course, like I said, is because I scraped the surface. The reason I did that was so that it would take more of the dye. And one thing I also discovered is that this fretboard is actually bound. Look at that. That is not a solid piece of rosewood. Let's see if I can get that to focus. That's not a solid piece of rosewood. If you look right on the edge, the fretboard is actually bound by a distinctive another piece of rosewood on the sides. You can see it real good there. So I have never seen that before. A lot of these Gios, the GRG 121s, the fretboards are actually bound. This is one of the ones that isn't. It was probably part of the Jump Start pack, where you get the amp and the guitar for like $150. So, but yeah, I'm gonna keep on working on this. I need to get more glue, like I said, to finish backfilling these dots, and keep working that over to get it darker. It actually looks darker in person than it does on the camera. I guess the camera's letting in more light. Like if you turn it kind of to the side, it's less noticeable. So I'm gonna keep on working on that, and I will keep you updated. Alrighty, I've done a little bit of masking and taping, and well, masking and taping. I got my neck pockets taped up, and my tremolo anchor thing. I went ahead and cut off some dowels and stuck them in here. What I'm about to do is take this thing out and give it its first coat of primer. So what I'll do is I will do the front first and the sides, and then once that's dried to the touch, I'll flip it over. And I've already got these in here so that they can prop the body up, and then I can do the back. The reason I'm doing that because I don't really have a good place to hang the thing, and I'm not really sure how it will react. So I've never done a double before, so I'm just going to do it this way. Alright, the first light coat is on. I still got some bare wood right there that's kind of open pore, but this is a sealing primer, so I'm hoping that it actually will seal. There's one of the spots right there where I had to cut the wood away to get that joint. It actually looks a lot better already. Being all one color, you can kind of see. Yeah. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then I'm going to hit it again. And there it is with the second heavier coat on. I can see that I'm still going to have to address the seam a little bit, but I think that'll kind of come out when I do some of the sanding on the primer itself, and then if I have to add more primer or whatever I have to do to it. This spot here where I cut that wood out, it looks a lot more uniform now. Also my little butt crack. Actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave that out here and let it dry for probably a couple hours before I flip it over and do the other side. Hello, welcome back. It's been about 3 days since the last installment, or since the last piece of video I filmed. I got the guitar primered and I left it out to dry while I went in to take a nap. I woke up about an hour later to the sound of rain hitting the roof. So I threw my shoes on, I ran out and grabbed the guitar and brought it back in. And after about an hour or so, this bullshit happened. It started out right here and here, and then there was this crack right here, and then after a few more hours, this part cracked open. I guess the rain got down into these holes where the pickup rings go. So what I ended up having to do was wait for it to dry, and then I basically filled these cracks with super glue, let that dry, and then I scraped them down with a razor blade because they actually like created ridges right there where the wood was actually like bowed up. The crack, I basically just took that and scraped it down till it was flat, and then sanded it. So it's smooth now. Once the new coat of primer's on, you won't even be able to tell there's a crack. There was a crack there, hopefully. I also had another one right there. And also I still had a bit of a ridge here. So I sanded that back down and I put some more super glue in there. I'm going to be scraping that off here soon and sanding it down flat. Another thing that I've decided to do also, I did the same thing with the super glue on the back here. I should have done that before I even started trying to primer it. Have you noticed the RG5, of course the all-access neck joint has a bit of a slope to it. The Gio neck does not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this down so it matches the angle of the other one. so they'll both be right. Excuse me. So I'm going to continue doing a little more of the flattening and stuff before I hit this thing with primer again. It shouldn't rain for at least another week or so, so hopefully I will have some nice weather to work on this with. Hello. Today I'll be conducting some paint experiments. What I'm going to do here is I've got this, it's basically a piece of wood flooring veneer or whatever. I've got part of it painted white, part of it painted black. I'm going to do those as base coats. I have a neon green. Let's see what I got here. I've decided to go with green for the guitar, but I kind of want the kind of color that's on the Dodge Challengers, the green with envy. And this is actually a neon green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try this paint on both white and black. Another thing I'm going to do, just for the heck of it, is take some of the gold paint that I use for the Goldtop, and I'm going to paint a section here in the middle to see how that gold shows up on black versus white, and then try green over the whole thing and see what kind of shades I end up with. And also for my clear coat, I've got Stupid Color Clear Effects. It's got metallic. It's like a metallic clear coat. I guess it's supposed to kind of make it look like a color shift pearlescent kind of thing. And I figure while I'm at it, I will go ahead and try a section with this on it too. Try this, usually spray this on black to get a blue and purple color shift. But I'm curious to see what it would look like on a neon green. So basically just experimenting galore. I'm waiting for the primer to dry right now while I decide exactly how I'm going to split this thing up. Okay, the first part is underway. Oddly enough, the gold that's on the white half is darker than the gold that's on the black half. See right there, it's actually darker, and it's actually showing up more vibrant on the black. Yeah, I can imagine what that would have looked like on the Goldtop if I had used a black base coat instead of a white. Goodness gracious, I like that. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to cover the entire thing with green, so that way I can see what the neon green looks like with the white popping underneath of it. Then with the white and gold base coat, and then with the black and gold base coat, and then just the black. I'm thinking the black with the neon on top of it will like mute the color a little bit, so do it, because I don't necessarily want a bright garish neon green on the guitar. I want it a little more subdued. So I'm thinking that the black will actually give it a darker color closer to what I'm looking for. This is an awful lot of work. I could just go to an auto parts store and get them to mix me the green that I need, but this is kind of half of the fun, just kind of seeing what happens. So when that dries, I'm going to do some green and I'll be back. Okay, the green is sprayed on, and as you can see, I've got like a real nice bright neon color here, and there's where I have the white and gold, and then the black and gold. There's kind of a very subtle difference between the two. So, you know, I guess once the gold's on and the green goes on top of that, it's real subtle. And over here's where the black was. And it's actually kind of giving me a nice rich green compared to over there. It's definitely darker than where the gold is. So I'm thinking the neon green on the black base coat might be the way to go here. So I think what I'm going to do now is take the clear coats. I'm going to try the clear effects on part of this, and probably right down the middle of this, there, right down the middle of the gold part, and then on the outside of this, and then in the spots that I'm not painting with that, I will use the blue purple color shift, because it's basically a clear coat with pearlescent flakes in it. That's what that is. So let me get that demarcated, and it probably won't show up as well on the camera at that point, but I'm gonna do it anyway. All right, what I decided might actually be an easier way to do this would be to take a board and run it lengthwise, and then do this bottom half with the clear effects, and then do the top half with the color changing blue purple paint. You can't really tell a big difference here, but let's just see if the camera will pick up this in the sunlight. Check out that color change. It's still green, but it's got little shimmers of blue and purple in it, which is actually kind of freaking cool. And then the clear effects, the effect is actually pretty subtle, but it's a real nice metallic effect. And it's actually pretty close to what I was hoping to get. That blue's nice on there. That's one of those things that'll definitely trick your eye. The thing is, the blue purple paint, like I said, it's a clear coat, and it just has the blue and purple flakes in it. You are supposed to paint it over a black base coat, which gives you a solid purple or blue color depending on which angle you're looking at it from. But it's actually a clear coat, so it's really at this point it's giving that green a nice pearlescent type look. So that's kind of a tough decision, but I think the one that looks the best is the black with the neon and the color effects on it. I think that's actually my favorite. So there it is. I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and I'm going to take a look at it inside after it's stopped being goopy. I didn't let a massive amount of time pass between these coats and stuff. So of course, when I laid that board down, it actually made a mark, pulled the paint up off of it, which is kind of cool because then it gives me a better delineation. Excuse me, no runner. Alright, so I'm gonna look at this under a regular light later on, and I'll probably put this on just to see, and I might even turn on a black light and see if that helps me with my decision any. Alrighty. Hello, welcome back. Tonight what I'm doing is I'm going to unveil for the first time the new decals, the inlaid decals I got to match these for the 12 string neck. I got these from Creative Cuts off of eBay. This guy does stellar work. He actually sells these inlays that are called dot busters. which basically the inlays are big enough to cover up the dots. Like if you got the dot in the middle and it covers up the dots. And I basically contacted them, asked them if they had these inlays in the non-dot buster variety, because they weren't showing them. But turns out he was able to make them for me. You know, if there's ever anything you need as far as a decal goes, just contact them and see what they can do for you. Alright, I'm getting ready to get my first look. He sent me pictures of it to make sure they're okay before he sent them in. Look at that. That is damn near perfect. It's a little more of a purplish color, but between the two necks, you won't be able to tell that much of a difference. And they also come with a couple of extras in case you screw up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, sorry about the wide pan out there. You see the rosewood's kind of close to the same color. I'm probably going to go ahead and go over this with the ebony too, just to get it both about the same color. And kind of the angles, you know, of course, it looks a little different. But yeah, I've got some extras. Now what I'm going to do is, just to see what it looks like, I'm going to go ahead and peel this one off and put it on the fretboard there, just to get a gander at it. Alright, so I've peeled the backing off of this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and kind of place it. I'm going to show you how these things work. I will probably measure them out a little better before I actually put the real ones on. He sends extras too, so I actually have 4 of this particular size. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna press it. You got to press it down real good. Then you just peel it, and boom, inlay. And I get, whenever I tell somebody I used the decals, they always ask questions about, you know, how thick they are and whatnot. Let's see if I can get a focus on this thing. It is extremely thin. You can't even really see the ridge of the thing. And they're really good looking. They make good looking print as well. And the cool thing is, if you need to remove one of these, when you peel it off, it doesn't leave any residue behind. It might leave a little bit of the backing on there, but that peels off without leaving a bunch of crap behind. So, pretty satisfied with that. Like I said, it's not an exact match. I mean, these other inlays are more gray. Those are a little darker. But I might could just order another set and cover those up. So they'll be the same. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that. Whoops. This thing probably flipped. But I'm going to go ahead and take my razor blade. I went ahead and filled in all of these again just to get all the little extra gaps and whatnot filled in. I think I finally got them all. So I will be going back with my blade and chopping all these back down before I take my stain pen to it. So there you go. Hello, I'm back. I skipped a few things as far as videoing goes, but I decided to go ahead and paint the headstocks. Okay, got the black base coat and then the gold on top of it. And that's actually a really rich gold. I kind of wish I'd used that on the Goldtop. It's more rich than what I ended up putting on there. You can't really tell it quite so well. The camera doesn't pick up the color quite as well as it looks in real life. But what I'm about to do now, that's dry, I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum Custom Lacquer Paint, Gloss Neon Green, and I'm going to go ahead and spray these, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay. All right, here we are again on another wonderful, majestic day. I have got the color shift paint on top of the green. Let's see if I can get a better juxtaposition here. It's actually a little more, the way I had it on the sample, it looked green when it was dead on, and then turned blue when, or when it turned green when I turned it. But then when I painted these things lying down, it kind of went the opposite. It looks green from an angle and then blue-ish, kind of an aqua color head on, which is kind of cool. It'd definitely be tricky to the eye. I always tend to finish my headstocks first because that's kind of where I can do a small area and do a lot of my experimentations. And if I screw up something, it doesn't affect it so badly, or it won't take me so much to go back and fix it if I need to. So there you have that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this crap on there too, give it a little more sparklies, because this stuff does have a little bit of a metallic sheen to it, but not as much as I would like. You can see there are a couple of gnats. This thing, I had 2 gnats fly into this thing like the second the paint got on the wood. The second I sprayed that paint on the headstock, gnats flew into it. I just kept painting. I said, you know what, if you guys want to kill yourselves and go right ahead, I'm going to immortalize you in my paint. So screw you. Besides, this one here will probably most likely be covered up by the whatever you call it, the washer, and then probably the logo will probably cover up the other one. So I'm not really too worried about it. Now, if I was doing this for somebody else, I would have sanded all that out and done it again, but this is for me, so I don't care. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do this sparkly stuff, and then I will come back. And here I am post sparklies. It's still kind of subtle, but so I guess when the sun really comes up and shines on it, I mean, I could carry it over there, but I'm not going to. When the sun comes up and gets on it a little bit, you'll be able to tell a little better. I mean, because even on my sample, which is the board that I'm painting these on, is where I did my original sample, and it's not even really showing up exactly like the sample did. But you can't really tell the metallic on this as much without direct sunlight on it. So I'm going to let these dry for a while, and I'm going to go play a little bit. Alright, I'm back to show off. Check this out. Don't know how well the camera's going to pick that up, but that's with the color change paint and also some plain metallic clear coat. That looks so cool. The reason I did both the headstocks at the same time too was just to make sure they were consistent. It's pretty cool though. So I'm gonna have to order my logos and put them on, and then put like a plain clear coat over top of that. But that's what I've got going on there. I'm getting ready to start working on doing an extra coat of primer on the body and getting that all leveled out. So that's going to be my next course of action. Another thing I'm going to do is paint the fake binding on this thing before I put my decals on, and then I'll just clear coat the entire thing. Alrighty. Okay, I've skipped a few steps in my video documentation here. I went ahead and smoothed this thing out as much as I could, and then a couple little spots there, but the seam's fairly nice. And I did my black primer coat. I think I might have taken some pictures of that. I'll use that somewhere. And then sprayed the gold on it. So it is gold all the way around. I did have to do a couple things. After I sanded this down to get the tilt like the other one did, I used my Forstner bits to chop these two down, because the holes ended up being really shallow. But then the Forstner bits weren't quite as big as these holes, so I had to trim them down a little bit in the edges, so that way the ferrules will go in. And also I went ahead and made my other hole for the selector switch, and I went ahead and drilled for my strap button. So it'll be a little bit on the underside, so it'll give me a little bit of under curve thing. It'll be interesting to see how this thing's going to hang once I've got it done. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back out and I'm going to start spraying the green on it. So I will get that set up, get a coat on it, and then come back and show you. Hello everybody, welcome back. I have been working on getting my green coat on this thing. I've already got the front of it painted and the sides. So I decided to come out and do the back tonight, or this morning after I got off work. I'm tired. But she's looking pretty good. I am very happy with the way it's turning out. So I'm going to leave this out here to sit for a while. Come back and check over it later and see if it needs another spritzing. And if not, I'm going to go ahead and start putting my color change clear on it. So it's coming right along. Okay, I'm back in the house. I'm going to show you what I did yesterday. I'm skipping a whole lot of stuff. But I taped this neck up and I painted my fake binding on. This is the Gio neck. Not too bad. I gotta go back and do a little bit of cleaning up along the edge there. I tried to spray it lightly so that it wouldn't go under the edge of the tape, but it kind of did anyway. It's kind of insidious. Once I get that cleaned up, I will start doing the decals, and I will probably I'll probably leave the camera running for a little bit to show that process. So yeah, check out that change. Neato torpedo. I got my secondary project happening too. I'm repainting Scarlet. I originally wanted to do a really bright white. Then the white I used was fairly bright, but then I found out it wasn't as bright as it could have been because the pick guard I got was like really white. And so what I'm going to do is go back and use Arctic white. It's been about 5 years. This thing's gotten some good bit of wear and tear on it. This spot here actually came from when I was trying to drill for the wiring from the back of the guitar, and it actually came through the front. And this was after I'd already painted it and clear coated it and polished it and everything, because there was like one hole I had left to drill, and it made me so mad. But yeah, I'll be doing that too. So there's that part. One thing I'm going to do is I've got my RG5 neck. Now if you look at them side by side, there's a good bit of difference in the color of the binding. They used to be probably a good bit whiter. You can kind of see I've sanded a little bit, and it is whiter under there. It's gotten yellowed over the years. I mean, this neck it's from a 2006. So that's a 15-year-old neck. So that's 15 years worth of oxidation and cigarette smoke and just aging. So I'm going to sit here and work on that with a used 400 grit sandpaper just to try to get that a little whiter, so it won't be in such a stark contrast with that. So I'm going to get to it. Alright, I'm starting work on the inlay decals now. We didn't keep the RG5 neck down here just so I could use it as a reference. It's actually not too bad a difference between the two. I'm going to attempt in a little bit to get this rosewood a little bit darker to match this. But I already tried scraping this one down with my blade and putting some men wax on it, and it didn't really make any difference. So anyway, I'm going to go down the line here and put the rest of these on. And then after that's done, I'm going to have to come back and touch up my faux binding here. I've got a paint marker that I'll use to touch some of that up. It's all going to get clear coated over once the decals are all on. So that doesn't look too bad though. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, so there it is. All the decals are on. I definitely want to try to do a little bit of work on this fretboard to make it as dark as the other. And I still didn't get the dots like perfectly, excuse the shorts there, perfectly as dark as it didn't get the rosewood as dark as the dots, but I think it'll kind of be like Scarlet's neck. Alright, when I used decals on this neck too, and I did the same thing. I filled in the dots. You see right there, it's one of them, and right there, they didn't perfectly match, but once the clear coat went on and everything, it all kind of blended in. So unless you're really kind of like looking for them from a distance, you can't really see them that well. But yeah, these are decals, also from Creative Cuts. I used 2 different sets. I used the Mother of Pearl set and the Abalone set with the green vine from the Mother of Pearl set. And then I just clear coat over the entire thing to protect them. Because I've used the decals before, but after a while the print starts to rub off. So these are going to be on here forever. I'm actually in the process of, I'm going to refinish this guitar too, because the white isn't white enough. I want to use Arctic white. So I'm probably going to have to replace that logo, which I've already ordered from my local decal plug. So I'm going to continue working on getting this color right and touching up this fake binding before I clean everything up and spray some clear coat on the fretboard. Alright, so I got a little more painting done. I had to cut it short because it felt a couple raindrops on me, but I got my color shifting going on here. That's pretty cool. The thing I hate about painting outside is you get all kinds of weird little things in your paint. Like when I went out to start this, I didn't realize it until the paint mist hit it, but the spider decided to drag his ass across my guitar and leave a web. So I had to try to brush that off the best I could. Yeah, I'm gonna need to get some more of the shift paint for the front. I'm just about out, but it's looking pretty badass. I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. I was going to take my parts out. I got all the parts for the RG5 are that gray pewter color, and had them all laid out. I was going to take them out and paint them, but if it's going to start raining, I'm not going to do that. So there you go. I will keep you updated. Okay, so I'm back. I finally had some good enough weather to actually paint these parts. Got them in a little bit of a jumble here because I've been putting everything back together. Put the tuner heads back on, or the, you know what I mean. Put all that stuff back on. I got one on here just to get a good visual. It's looking pretty sweet. I've already painted the bridge and put it back together. So this is the part where I start reassembling at least this neck. And I've decided I'm going to go with a satin finish on that body instead of trying to go like full gloss on it, because as it sits right now, let's see, excuse the mess. I'm trying to clean as I go, and I end up with little half messes here and there. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, but not a whole lot. You know, it's kind of a nice kind of satin finish, and I really like that a lot. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. There's my bridge all painted up. You can see the original color underneath. That's going to look, it's going to look pretty badass with that green and black together. See that? And got my pickups ready to go. I liked the covers on the Gio pickups. See if I can get this thing open. I'll do this crap with one hand. Hold on. Alright, there we go. Anyway, I liked the covers on the original Gio pickups. See if I can get a good focus on that. The other ones are a little more prominent. Basically what that is, that little tribal design is the Ibanez check marks. Turn around, flip, and looks all tribal. I thought that was a cool look. So I took covers off of 2 of them that I have. So I have 4 of these now because I bought 2 of these GRG 121s. And Actually, one of them, the newest one, was a sealed set. It's all like epoxied, I guess, in there, kind of like an active pickup, but it's not. And the other one, it was just the cover over the regular pickup, so I was able to take those off and put it on the V8 and V7 that I have, that I had installed in the RG5. So that's what I'm going to go with. But yeah, I've got those ready. I should have videoed that process too, but I've been a lot more lackadaisical about filming for this one. But I'll try to show a little more work as I go. As soon as I get the rest of these tuning keys and all the hardware on that, I'm going to come back and show it to you. And voila, there it is. Yeah, it looks pretty badass. I like how it has that little bit of a teal look to it until you turn it away, and then it gets it more yellowish green. So yeah, I got to get the other headstock clear coated. I just put a couple of coats on this just to seal that logo on there. Since I'm going with the satin finish, I'm not going to worry about getting it too awful shiny. That'll give it a nice juxtaposition between the parts that are shiny. So I am going to clear coat the other headstock probably tomorrow. It's getting a little too dark now. So there it is. Alright, I'm getting ready to do some of the remaining work I need to do to the 12-string neck before I clear coat the fretboard. What I've done here is I've taken some of my extra inlay pieces. As you can see how dark those are compared to, bring it over and put it right next to the other one. Hold on here. They're like almost bluish, and I think I've talked about that before. Well, I've discovered that if I take a little magic eraser and go over them lightly, it actually lightens them up a good little bit. I'm going to show you on this one. You don't have to get all that heavy on them. Of course, I'll be going with the grain on the fretboard itself. But this is kind of, see how much that's lightened up? So that's what I'm going to do to these. Already got my frets taped up. So once I'm done with that, I am actually just going to use my Min Wax Wipe on Poly. It'll be a lot easier to control. I've already got my headstock cleared. I'm not going to really go any heavier than that. I just wanted enough to seal the logo in. And since I'm going with a satin-ish semi-gloss finish anyway, it doesn't need to be real shiny. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on these, and then I will come back and show you. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not getting into a whole lot of the work on this one as far as actually doing things. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do the first one. It's already lightening up some. You don't have to rub too hard with this to get there you go. You can see that compared to the second one, it's a little lighter. So I'm hoping that also with the putting the wipe on poly on there, it'll kind of darken everything and give it a little bit of depth. This thing about the plastic pearl on the RG5 neck, it's got a real nice kind of depth to it that this doesn't. You know, it just kind of looks like it at first, but there's, of course, it's two-dimensional. It's just printed on there. But I'm gonna go ahead and go over the rest of these, and I'll be back. All right, I'm getting ready to put my first little bit of the wipe on poly on. I'm just going to do the first one. Of course, this is going to get at least 2 or 3 coats, but I'm going to do this one on camera just to see it happen. Ooh, look how dark that's gotten already. That's nice. And just like the name implies, you just wipe it on. And it'll kind of soak in the first couple of coats, depending on how thirsty the wood is. And I won't put so much on there that it fills all the grain, but it'll be enough to seal over top of the inlay decal. And I'll probably go ahead and do the binding too, just to cover that up. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of it, put on a couple of coats, and then come back to it. Alrighty, tonight I am doing probably the most daunting task of this entire project, the wiring. I've got the wiring. It's pretty straightforward. You have to excuse my mess. This is the way my room ends up looking when I'm doing one of my projects. I've got, let's see. I got the 12-string neck over here, which is going from the volume to the tone, the toggle switch. And then I've got another wire running from the 6-string volume over to the switch, and then another wire running from the switch all the way to the output. I got both bridges are going to be grounded. My 12-string bridge should be here Saturday, I believe. I just got a notification from Reverb. It's a Goldtop 12-string electric bridge. So you can see, here's my neck after I've put a couple of coats of rub on poly, wipe on poly. So I'm probably going to go over it and kind of scuff it down a little bit and probably add another coat to it. I just wanted to get my I just wanted to get these on just to get my ferrules and screws and everything, get the depths right and everything, make sure it didn't poke through the fretboard. So this thing is coming together nicely. I might actually have the 6-string part wired up tonight and probably steal the strings off of that one for right now, just to put on it and see if I can get some noise out of it. And of course I still got to put the tuners on. I still got one of the bushings I got to paint black, which won't be that huge of a deal. But yeah, it's turned out to be pretty nice. I have not shielded the cavities. This thing's full of humbuckers, and basically they're made to buck the hum. So I'm going to see how it sounds without shielding them. If it turns out to be noisy, I will go ahead and shield them. But for right now, I just want to get some noise out of it. So there's where we are at the moment. Another thing I do need to do, I hadn't noticed before because the guitar is black. Was black. Start with my plate for the to put the strings through. Not exactly lined up right. He didn't do the greatest job drilling these out straight. So what I will do is probably go through with my small drill bit and just kind of tap these out, just to get those cleaned up a bit. So, yep, that's where we are right now. Alright, I'm back. I've got the wiring done. I still have a few little tweaks to make. For some reason, the bridge pickup sounds muffled. The other two sound really nice and kind of crisp. But this one sounds like it's in the other room. So I might have to take a look at that. I did get my 12-string bridge in. This is a Goldtop. My light's in the middle of the freaking room, so wherever I go, it's casting a shadow. You can see it's got 6 holes through the plate, through the bottom, through the body, and then the other 6 drone strings go through the back of the plate. It's got individual saddle intonation adjustments for the drone strings, which is kind of cool. I've discovered that 3 of these holes will match the mounting holes for this. Oops. So I will have to make new holes for these 2. Another thing I discovered too is that the original holes for the string through are straight across. These are staggered. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get those lined up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mount this thing using the holes that I have available, which is going to be those 2 and the middle one. Then I'm going to see which holes I have that line up and figure out how to get my everything staggered the way they are in this bridge. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and film this little piece of the process, because I haven't really filmed a lot of the work. It's mostly been, here's what I'm going to do, and I'll come back and show you what I did. I haven't got quite as in-depth with this one as I did with the Goldtop. Alright, the stupid ground wire needs to get in there and get out of the way. So this is going to be a permanent mount at this point. I'm just doing it to get the holes lined up. And of course the screwdriver is going to be too big for that. I may have to, depending on how big these are, I need to compare them to the screws that came out of this thing to begin with. Because these might not be big enough. I need to take my desk back right now. Since I moved into the new place, I got my TV and my aquarium on the desk, and I just don't have the room to put this thing on my desk because it's so wide. So I've got to work on top of my dresser, and I have no. I guess I can pull my chair over here. This thing has definitely been interesting as well. Completely different beast from the Goldtop. I did so much body work on that one, it was pretty insane. Another thing that I want to do while I've got this bridge on is to measure out and make sure it's in the right place for my, to keep my scale lengths. 25.5. And yeah, still got to pick up a set of 12 strings for this thing. That'll have to happen this weekend. I was right now the only thing I can afford to do is put these screws in. I wish I had a regular screwdriver with this size head on it, because I love my Ibanez multi-tool, but for doing this kind of stuff, it has a tendency to want to fold up on me if I don't put the pressure like straight down on the pieces on the screw heads. All right, there are those two. Get my measure out just to make sure of the scale length. So you got your 12 3/4 to 12th fret. Yeah, all of these saddles are going to have to come up forward a little bit, maybe like 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, it looks like it's, yeah, pretty much in the right place. Of course, you know, like I said, I have to adjust all the saddles. Now, what I'm going to have to do then is look and see. Let me see if I can get this thing turned around here. So, I have my flashlight on so you can see down into the saddle holes where the holes are for the strings to come up through. And I only have one that even remotely lines up. And I think that's actually where the ground screw comes through. Yeah, you can see it's a tiny bit right there and right there. So what I'm going to do is check and make sure this thing is centered before I do any marking. Check out the metal flake. Anyway, I'm going to check all that and I'll be back. Alright, so I got two strings on here. Kind of pilfered them off another guitar. And it's pretty straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and jam a dowel down in that old hole right there. Re-drill a new one. And then I'm going to mark where all of these holes are coming through the base plate of this bridge. Fill the other ones, and then I'm going to, I guess, try to figure out the angle at which to drill in order to get down to the original tunnels, because these things are going to have to feed through the back of the guitar. Oh God, this thing was so heavy. If I had known that the bridge that I was getting had staggered holes, I would have gone ahead and filled in that back thing and just waited until I got this and drilled brand new holes all the way through and then put ferrules in or something. But I gotta work with what I got. So let me mark all this crap and get some holes drilled. Well, I did a little bit of gallivanting today. Went ahead and picked up a set of strings for this thing. D'Addario EXL 150. What I'm going to do, what I ended up doing was actually enlarge the holes in the back of the guitar and drilled the holes down through this one in alignment with the holes that feed into the bridge, so they kind of connected. It might take me a little bit of finagling to get the strings through right, but you know, that's kind of the way it works. Now for the nut, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the regular 6 strings on, and then I will align my drone strings and use the little file I've got. I got a little set of files that I'll use to start working on carving out the slots for my drone strings. And that should be about the last little bit of hard work I need to do on this thing. So I'm going to slap these strings on and get to work on that nut. Okay, I have my first 6 strings on and my first drone string. I was able to use a razor to get this slot started, and then I used a piece of string cut off from the end of here to actually kind of file down the nut a little bit to make the grooves a little deeper. I tried to use one of my flat files a little bit, but it's not really serrated enough on the edge to do a whole lot of damage. So I'm just going to keep on working on it a little bit at a time. The string spacing on the headstock doesn't look quite as wonky as I expected that it would. So, it's not too bad. I think it'll work. There won't be as much overlap as I expected. But yeah, my first drone string is a success. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my slots filed out, cut out, whatever. Put the rest of these strings on, and then I'll be ready to do my final checks over this thing and fire it up. And there it is. All 12 strings on. I've actually got them a little closer together than your average 12 string, but I've got fat fingers, so I need room. The nut's not beautiful, but it'll work. Nothing touches anything else. And there's actually not even any overlap in the strings. I was worried that with the curvature of this headstock right here, that you'd have the strings like kind of laying over top of each other, but nothing is touching anywhere. It's kind of cool. I am proud of what I've done. I still got a little bit of setups to do. I think I gotta lower my action a little bit, which is cool because the way the action on this bridge works, your screws are actually down below where the strings come over. It's like regular 6-string saddles, the screws are up on top, and if you get them sticking out the top, they scrub all the skin off your hands. But this gives you that adjustment without you having to worry about your hands touching them. So I will probably lower all those a little bit. I've got my V7 and V8 with the Gio covers on them. I really like those covers a lot. This is my Infinity single coil. My toggle. So after I get my few little touch-ups and setup and everything, I'm going to plug this thing in and take it for a spin. Let's see. Oh, Jesus, this thing's heavy. So heavy. I probably should have polished those frets first, but oh well. There she is. I'm going to do a short little demo of this thing before the battery on my pedal runs out. Check that out. Look at that. It's hard for me to get used to the way my arm lays across this to get to the bottom one, because I'm used to the distances there between. It still needs to be intonated. The drone strings are actually far enough apart and close enough to the main strings that I can like actually play some individual notes without as much trouble as on a regular 12 string. sound I'm supposed to be playing at any given time. Or I can just leave both on. This is going to be fun. Thanks for watching. Alright, so now that you've heard me noodle around on it, I'm going to take one last look at this thing. I've still got a little bit of tweaking and setup work and stuff to do on it, but man, this thing's going to be a lot of fun once I learn how to play it. Most experience I've ever had with a double neck guitar was the SG kit that I mentioned earlier. I built it for my friend Ricky, bandmate, and I played it just long enough to do the Hotel California lead on it. I probably will replace those tuners at some point with some nicer ones. But you know, I was building this thing pretty much on a shoestring budget. Yeah, this guitar I paid $150 for. This one I paid $100 for. It says $250 in the guitars. Most of these parts I already had, except for the bridge. That was about $70. These tuners, I bought those off a guy, along with a whole bunch of other stuff for like 25 bucks. So really overall, I'm not a huge amount of money into this thing. I'd say paint's probably one of the more expensive parts of it. But there it is, guys and girls. Thank y'all for watching.